Hi, good morning, and happy Sunday. Thank you for tuning in to the Empowered Path, turning pain into purpose. And today, I'm just fair warning you all, we're probably all going to cry together. But we have Kaylin. Kaylin and I met 12 years ago, right around this time, actually, probably like a month before, like a little bit, like before the summer.
Yep.
So many synchronicities. I was actually telling Carly on the way up last night, but we'll get into all of that. Her story is beyond powerful. Um, it's been an honor to witness her through this and to witness the growth and to witness her really on so many levels and so many different pains turn it into creating the most magical life.
Right. I was like driving in here and it's like the sun wasn't even up yet. All the trees are like bright orange and it like looks like fire. And I'm like, I literally have everything I've ever hoped and dreamed of. And just this like beautiful life.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And it's hard to like sit back and be like, wow, like what is it that I need to dream up again? Like I still every day I'm like, I need to dream something.
Yeah, we got to have goals.
Yeah. Like what are now I have to dream up more dreams.
So, like I said, this is definitely going to be, there's like a little, trigger warning maybe for some people. It will be a very powerful story of loss and child
Child loss
loss.
trigger. Yeah. Just in case.
Yeah, and I know it's a little heavy on a Sunday morning at 8 a.m., but and anybody that's tuning in and listening, so go ahead. You can share whatever is called to your heart.
Um, Thank you for having me here. I love you so much. It was actually like last night we were together and I was hosting an ecstatic dance at my beautiful friend's homestead that she has created into like a beautiful event space. And Amy came and there was like a kava ceremony before. So we were like just so present and um, like we had planned this not even knowing like what the date was. It wasn't like, oh, Amy's going to be there for, but I was like surrounded by all these amazing women yesterday. Like I call her my female soulmate is Melinda, and she was like came Friday from Maine and like stayed over. So like woke up and had breakfast with her.
Wait, that was Melinda that was there? That
Yeah.
was the first time that we've met? I didn't even like put two and two together that that was her.
No, she wasn't at the dance last night.
Oh,
You
okay.
haven't even met Melinda yet?
I don't think I ever met Melinda.
Oh, yeah, you did. She came to our house. She came to your house when it was our house. Remember when I was homeless at Amy's house?
Yeah.
I
We
was
should
like,
probably tell. We should probably go backwards. Let's start yesterday.
All right. So, yeah, October 13th, 2012, I decided to finally get sober after trying forever and ever and years and nothing like ever clicked. And I like truly believe today after having like walked through with so many people and so many women and um, watching other people like make that decision that they were like ready to do it and do whatever they could to get sober. But like calling Amy when I didn't have money for like a month and just like how she came into my life was like a sign that, she was like meant to be in my life at that moment. But I got sober October 13th, 2012. I made this decision to like, I was done and I woke up and started going to a 12-step program religiously, like every day, 3 times a day if I could. And then 6 days later on October 19th, 2012, exactly 12 years ago, last night, um, I went to a meeting. I got my 24-hour chip, was like, this is awesome. I'm like doing this. And we went to a little pizza place, and then I came out, and there was like 36 missed calls and 37 missed text messages. I immediately knew something was wrong, and I got on the phone with my parents. My mom really couldn't speak to me, and my dad told me that there had been an accident, that my boyfriend um, and my daughter were in a car accident, and that he had died immediately, and my daughter was being rushed to Boston Children's, and I needed to get down to meet them as quick as possible. So you can imagine. I just remember like that flood of like feeling just like hopeless, because I was like, I'm gonna die. Like
That was
I can't be 6 days sober from a heroin addiction, and like I'm still to this day like in shock. Like
girl, same.
how?
The scream that we heard from the alleyway, like I'll never ever forget that scream.
That's actually the only thing that I remember of that night. Like at the pizza place, that I was like, I remember seeing like 20 people down one, like it was like a brick alleyway, and I remember seeing like 20 people like staring at me screaming, and then like behind me another 20 people on both sides. It was like this, just, you can imagine, and like the people that were there that night, like talking to them like later on, being like, we called our like loved ones that night. We're like, just want you to know that we love you. Like it was like pierced them so deep in their like soul that they were like in pain with me, you know.
Mhm.
So got in the car, and I was like, I grew up in Brockton. It's like it definitely like toughened me up. I had very, very thick skin, and like I wasn't gonna like, surrender to nobody. I was always just like that. It was like it makes you hard. So it was so hard. And that night in the back seat, like you sat in the back with me, and I was like humming and crying and screaming, and all of a sudden like something was like, you need to pray. Like you need to pray. And I looked at Amy, and I was like, I think I need to pray. Like I think I need to pray. And like you were like, let's do this, So we like turned around in the back seat of the car. We got on our knees, and I just remember being like, God, I know you're there. I know you're real, but like I'm gonna die. Like I'm gonna kill myself if you don't help me right now. And I just remember like and I like got back up in the seat, and I always describe it as like serenity. It was just this like peace that came through me, and like I've had it since. And like that's only like God given. There's no like like
I,
a
yeah, I just have to say, like, it's really been an honor. And I know you always like thank me for, holding that space for you. And I really believe that it was such a pivotal point in my life as well. Like, I was only 9 years sober. I had just gotten out of an abusive relationship. I was fighting to get my son back,
9 months. Weren't you
yeah,
9 months
I was
sober?
9 months sober. Like,
Yeah.
just got that apartment. I had no furniture. I was still bartending at Murphy's. Like, I was just a mess of myself, like trying to figure out how to be a mom, trying to fight for custody back of my son. And it almost, not that, I had my son and everything that I was doing, but it was this other thing to finally in my life show up for somebody else. And I'll never forget, I was actually telling Carly on the way home from the dance last night, I was like, I'll never forget it. I called my sponsor. I was sponsored by Chloe at the time in Texas. And I called her and I was like, I am not capable. I cannot do this. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Like, how am I supposed to get her through this? Like, I don't know if she's going to make it. And then, like, I don't want to be responsible. Like, it was just this whole thing, right? Because you're still so new, and it's like the I. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
how am I? And she just stopped me in my tracks. And she's like, you're right, Amy. You can't, but God can. And your only thing that you can do is show up for her. And like, it was just this moment of like, that start of that, right? That like, oh yeah, I'm not responsible. Like I'm not responsible for your success. And
Yeah.
I wasn't responsible if something bad happened. All that I had to do was just show up and show you support.
And you did.
I did.
And you did.
And it was a wild ride.
Yeah. It
The
really was.
hospital,
Yeah.
the people that
There's
showed
so
up for
many
you in the
like
hospital.
different things.
Because it wasn't like she just passed. Like you had to.
I went down there and she like we walked in and they told me she was going to look so different and that like they had to shave half of her head. She had like immediate brain surgery because she had internal bleeding. They were like pushing meds on me. They were like, you need sleep meds, you need anxiety meds. We've got you covered, like.
I remember that. I was so
And
mad.
every day they would come in, and I was like, it was like 4 days in a row. And finally, I was like, if you guys come in here one more time
and offer me Xanax.
drugs, like I am literally like, I don't know how many times I have to tell you this. Like, I'll be completely okay. Like, I'm going to make it. And I did.
You did?
Without it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so 2 weeks went by. There was like so many things that I had to like deal with in those 2 weeks. My landlord at the time was like trying to evict me, like went through an eviction. Like I got sober and I lost everything. I lost my boyfriend. My daughter was, she lived for 2 weeks and then we had to make this like very selfless decision to take her off life support and actually like held my daughter till she took her last breath. And it was like November 1st. So, and I'll never forget, like, remember that day you came with me? We went to a medium.
Raven, right on the old street that I used to live on.
And then I just like dove in. It was like, I'm going to do this. Like I just made this decision at that moment that I was going to live for them. There was not like a day that my daughter like didn't have anything but pure joy in her life. And she was like such a light that if she had to like see me miserable from the other side, like it would have killed her. And like Jesse was the same way. Like Jesse was just like always so like happy and funny, and his laugh was contagious. Like the last thing that they would want from me like is to go back. And I had like every excuse to go back and just be miserable and like curl up in a fetal position forever. So what happened was Amy was working at Drink at the club, and it was like, I think it was like a week. It was like a week after, maybe when like a couple days after Kiara had passed. I was like, I want to dance. Like I want to dance. So I remember going into the dance floor and not dancing with anybody, but like going in the middle and like closing my eyes and like sweating and crying. And like, I just like didn't care what anyone thought of me because I was there for me and I was there to like do something that like I love doing that I knew would help me like intuitively. It was just, so I was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday night for weeks,
dancing,
months. I think it was like the first year.
And any night I had off, we went down to Boston or we were at another
we
club.
were
We just
dancing.
danced. We have pictures.
And it was like such a like too, because like I was newly sober and you were a bartender. I started working at Murphy's because I needed to work. And like
everyone was like, they're gonna drink,
my
they're
gosh.
gonna die.
Very controversial. Like I'm still in the service industry and I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like a lifer. I was like, I'm gonna be that like older lady working at a diner.
We were not
Like
good.
people, you know how many amazing people I meet every day?
It's incredible.
And like I get to like share my story with some people, and like people like point to my tattoos, and I'm just like, it's like an opportunity to like you really never know.
You keep her spirit alive.
Yeah.
You keep her spirit alive in her
Absolutely.
story.
Yeah, and like a lot of people like they do like it's like hard for them to have a conversation where they'll say like, I can't even imagine. And I'm like, you can't imagine.
Yeah.
Every single one of us does. Every single one of us imagines
Right.
what would happen if something happened to one of our children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we do live that. You know exactly how it feels. You could like, I feel like every mother that has like a child like thinks about like that emptiness and that like hollow feeling. Like even still, I have 2 beautiful babies now, 4 and 7, and like I constantly feel the same way. Like I always say it, I'm like, I can't imagine if anything's gonna happen to them. Like I still
Yeah,
do it.
but you
Like
can.
having like gone through it, like I can't get through that again. Like all these things, and I like let it go, and I'm like, it's not up to me.
Mm.
It's not up to me. It's not up to any of us. Like we can't control anything that happens. We literally just have this choice to how we're gonna show up today and right now. So, um, to get back to like where we were dancing at the club every night. No, but I feel
Dancing
like
is
I was like it
medicine.
was like so controversial. Everything I did was wrong in the eyes of like a program.
Same.
I met my husband in recovery like 2 months after I was sober. Kept like no, we tried not to be together, and everyone was like, "No, don't do it. He's not the right one." Amy's like, "He's a womanizer. I know he is. Careful."
Well, it's so sad too, and you like think back about it, right? And there's like all these things, like they're like 12 steps, like don't date for a year. And I remember being like, well, did you? Like it's just like
Yeah.
you're like told these things to like say, because
Mhm.
it's like what's supposed to be right. In like it's all like dictation and control and fear. Like if you do this, you're gonna drink. If you do this, you're gonna drink. And if you drink, you're gonna die. Like fear, 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 fear. You're like,
It
oh,
is.
and then
It
it's like
is.
fear of like yourself, and then you're like not trusting your intuition because, look at like imagine if you didn't. Like imagine if you didn't. Like imagine if you
I can't
listened,
imagine. I like
right? Like you and Dan
no.
are amazing together. Like you
Yeah.
guys were meant to be
Oh yeah,
together.
for sure.
And, if I'm a divine believer in the universe and that Kiara, I've witnessed it with the medium, like she is with you. Like
Oh
she's
yeah.
with me all the time. The
She's with
tattoo,
everybody.
the tattoo that I got, remember that night? It's like I was getting this owl tattoo. Remember? I
Oh
was
yes.
going to go get something completely
The day
different
she was
and we had
getting
no
taken off life
idea
support. It was
yep,
the third. It was like the
Friday the
Friday the third, or no, it was Halloween.
Halloween tattoos.
Halloween
It was Halloween
tattoos.
tattoos, and I was going to get this little other thing, and I ended up getting an owl, and I was getting an owl tattooed on me as she was passing. You like messaged me, you're like, we had to make the decision, and owls like guide people like into the under,
Oh yeah, they're the
and
messengers from the other side.
I always see ladybugs, like they're always on me,
That was like
like
yesterday.
yeah.
I haven't seen ladybugs for like a month, and all of a sudden yesterday morning, like the sun's beaming down on my face on my back porch, and I am like sitting there with Melinda, and I literally started talking about like how that day went and how those goodbyes were. Like I have these like beautiful goodbyes from both Kiara and Jesse that I'll like never forget. Remember, like, was it Heather? They came to get me, and like Jesse like grabbed me and kissed me, like, and it like was like a kiss that like set my whole body on fire. That's like the last memory I have of him is like kissing me and telling me he loves me. And she was like, I think that was like my first spiritual awakening. And then with Kiara, like I couldn't go anywhere without her like being upset that I was leaving.
Mhm.
And that night she was like, I love you, mommy. Like it wasn't sad or anything. Like I had these like beautiful goodbyes with them. Just so like I was sitting there telling her like how, this is 12 years was last time that like I got to hear my daughter's voice and to like hug them and like really hug them. And all of a sudden there's just ladybug on Melinda, then ladybugs everywhere. They were all over my house. They were in my house. Like Ruby, she came and like pulled one off. She was like, it was on your tea, Mom. I was like, oh yeah, just magically. I get like weather, but there's no coincidences.
But I think that that's also one of the most beautiful parts of your story is the crazy synchronicities, the crazy connections that have continued to happen to you like over
Well, that's what I'm
the
writing my book about.
past 12 years. Yeah. And I don't think, and your sister was in the car too. I think that's like really,
Oh yeah.
important, even though, do you want to touch upon that?
Yeah, well, that night my parents like didn't tell me that Quinn was in the accident until I got to the hospital and got with them because they didn't want to like flood me. I was like newly
Yeah.
sober. I was literally like 5 days. My parents were like, they had already accepted like there's no way our daughter is going to make it through this.
Yeah.
There's no way. And so they told us that Quinn had gotten to the accident, and she was at Concord being treated for, like, she was definitely knocked unconscious, and she had like a, what was it, bruised rib and a broken sternum, or like a something. I'm trying to like
Yeah.
remember. But my sister, like, ultimately, she was a survivor of a very traumatic accident. There was the first couple of years, like, I couldn't even really be around her because I would trigger her.
Mm.
And every time I was around her, she would then tell me like details about the accident and like what she saw and how it looked. And she became obsessed and like got all of these like CDs with photos of them from the cops to like look, because she was like looking for answers or something. And she started using, and she did always use, it was like that, like, she didn't shoot it, so she was kind of better than I was because she just sniffed it, that kind of addict.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same, but that's okay.
Yeah.
um but even like I couldn't even have a relationship with her. Like, I couldn't have a relationship really for a very long time. And then, like, where my life brought me, like, through being, up until now, like, I was in Manchester. I was like living with Amy.
It was fun times.
Yeah, it was
We had
so
some
good.
fun times.
Thunder Buddies, remember Thunder Buddies?
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, oh. But living with Amy, and then moved in with Dan, and then Dan like got a new job, and then I moved to Vermont, and then we bought a house in Virginia, and then we went to Martha's Vineyard and lived there for 4 years, and then COVID hit, and then we came back to New Hampshire because we were like, we need community, and that's like where the community is that we know. And so came back here with like a hope and a prayer. Was like, we're just, because living on the island was a whole different world.
And
Dan
so
like
funny.
tells people when he's like, yeah, I lived in this country called Martha's Vineyard, and like people that like, there's a lot of people that like believe it's a country.
It's like its own little world down there. It's always so funny too because you were obviously traveling with your husband and I was on like my path, and we had babies. Our children are both
Couple
the
weeks apart.
same age and a couple weeks apart.
You have a 7 and a 4-year-old,
A
right?
7 and 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're born within like Ruby's and Xavier's birthdays. When is
Like
Ruby's?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think it's like 2 weeks. January
January.
28th.
Yeah, January 7th. January 3rd is
Yeah.
Xavier's.
Yeah. Because remember, I was like, you messaged me, you're like, I'm pregnant too. Because I don't like, I always announce my pregnancy
Yeah.
so early because like I did suffer a loss. That's like what brought me into plant medicine, was going through a loss after Ruby. I had like a miscarriage, and it like rocketed me to this place of like having reoccurring nightmares every single night.
Mm.
And it was like vivid, and going to like therapists and psychiatrists that just wanted to prescribe. I was actually thinking about this last night, how many I had like gone through, and
Therapists.
yeah, and like how they like justified their drinking to me because they like can't fathom,
Mm.
or say that I'm disassociated.
Oh.
So that was like the big one. And I was like, you don't even know me, like, to
Right.
say that I'm disassociated. Like, do you even know how I grieve? And
Right.
that's like a big thing. Like, I think that a lot of people struggle, and like, I want to like respect like grieving parents in the fact that like everybody grieves differently, and they're like, you're allowed that.
Mhm.
You're allowed that. Like, for me, like, I had to feel it all. And that's something that like I didn't block off at all.
Right.
I knew that, and previously because of like really strong, amazing women. Like my mom kind of like led the way of like absolutely for like the woman that I am today. She showed me what it was like to have a tribe of women around her all the time, and like women that would like hold her when she was broken, and like I saw that and I like grew up with that, and women that would like get naked and dance in the rain together. Like I'll never forget those moments. Those were like moments that were like, I want that for my
Yeah.
children. Like I want that for my daughter, so
Mhm.
that they know like how beautiful like women are and how different, we're not all built into this like societal mold of like,
The way we look.
yeah,
Or,
yeah. And like just seeing all types of women. So, but having had that, like my mom do that. And then I did, um, like we'll call it this very, very, um, transformative, like women's weekend where I went away and, really got to like know how to grieve and how to take care of like that part of like myself when I need it, and how to like achieve it. So like um like last night.
yeah, so I know we were dancing, we were doing all of that stuff, and dancing is medicine, like embodying and everyone's grief, and grief is forever, right? Like
Oh yeah.
grief is like that's where people think it's like, "Oh, I'm still so sad about this thing." It's like grief is forever and it's peaks and valleys, and you've found these ways that have worked for you.
Yeah.
Like it started in going into dance with like just going to the clubs. I mean, we used to
Yeah.
go down to the clubs in Boston or like be out just like dancing, like completely sober. So that's like a whole nother medicine because a lot of people can't dance sober. They like need a couple drinks or like
Or are afraid
need,
to dance.
right? Like,
They're like so afraid, or they think that their body doesn't move that way,
mhm.
or
So much resistance,
yeah.
right? There's no like fluidity in it because there's that like fear of judgment of yourself, and oh my god, that person danced better than me. It's like that separation piece of it, and so we would just go out and dance sober anyway. I
Yeah.
mean, we just had a good time because we
Yeah.
just didn't care, and um
And we were
then
healing though. Like
we
we
were
didn't know
healing,
it,
right?
but we were
Moving
literally
the
moving
energy.
the energy and moving the trauma that we've both experienced, because we've had, very traumatic things happen in our whole life and childhood and everything.
Yeah.
Like, who even knew? We were,
It's medicine.
yeah.
Movement is medicine.
Yeah.
And with, talk therapy and all of these things, like, yeah, that's great, right? But I think what's happening with a lot of talk therapy, and, I had Kim on my last podcast, is that we almost desensitize ourselves. That's just why the therapist may have been saying that it was dissociation, because you talk about it and you talk about it and you talk about it, and you just like kind of talk about it until you've talked about it so much that
Yeah.
you don't actually embody what the feelings are that are attached to the pain. And so you can just go out. It's like when we used to tell our stories, right? And like make fucking jokes about the fact
Yeah.
that we were like molested and, all these like crazy things. And so when you're dancing and when you're moving, even when you're like doing yoga or
Oh,
any
yeah.
kind of workout,
And music alone is a
Yeah.
therapy.
the vibrations,
The-
depending
the
on what music
sounds,
you're
yeah.
listening to, because there's music that it's like
Oh, yeah.
designed to keep you at low vibration.
Yeah.
But that's another topic for another podcast.
Yeah.
So when you don't have to, like, obviously be on the dance floor. It's not like we were on the dance floor, like, talking about Kiara or like talking about Jesse.
No,
It
well,
was
an
just
ecstatic dance is no talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's barefoot. It's an hour and a half playlist. There's no talking. There's no judgment, mostly of yourself, and it's actually consensual. So it is like a way that you want to connect with others.
When did you
Especially
do your first one? When did you like attend
March.
your first?
March of like last year. So, or attend. Yeah, it was my birthday.
Yeah, because
It
you
was my
did
birthday of
your first
last-
one at the
yep.
studio.
Well, the first one I facilitated.
Yeah.
So I went
was gonna say.
I went to my first one, which is like a whole like so connected to her, but I went to my first one and I was like, I knew the second that I did it, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like this is what I'm supposed to do. And like luckily my beautiful friend Cami, she like literally like guided me and like told me everything that she knows and like helped me to like really honor the ecstatic like community in like that way and five rhythms and everything that goes about it. It's like,
Why don't you talk about that? A lot of people probably don't know what ecstatic dance is, so I think it's really this is the point that
Yeah.
to get
I
what
was like
it
when
is.
people ask me like what how to describe it, I'm like, because everybody watches reels, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you see those reels where like people have those like headphones on and they're like on like a beach and they're dancing. It's kind of just like that. But there's no headphones. It's just speakers and you get to dance and move your body whichever way that you feel like moving. Like listen to your body and move. So it's not like I'm telling you anything. I'm not guiding you. I'm not pushing you or saying like anything. It's all up to you. I've had people like come and like sit down and meditate the whole time, like sit up against the wall. And then I've had people that just like rock and sway. And then,
and do the two-step.
yeah, the two step, like that is absolutely like acceptable there. Like there's no, you can just like sit and be in that space or like
Just sway
just
back
sway.
and forth. The
And
energy.
the energy and is what it is. So, but it is a playlist that is created. I am the DJ pretty much. I create a playlist that takes you on a journey to a natural state of ecstasy. So I've had like this one guy one time. This one guy, he's like, I've done a lot of drugs in my life, and that was like the best high I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Like after my last one, I was like, wow. Like I hadn't heard anybody like really say it like that, but there is. It's like there's so many feelings behind it, and like walking out of that, like it takes a while for me to sleep after, because it's like you're processing. Like I'm still processing this morning. I was like so glad that I was like going to be with you. It's like I get to process this a little bit again. But yeah, like I think we should just like talk about last night and how like beautiful that space was. And
Well, how's your journey been? So the Women's Circle for me and what I do there is to empower. My big thing is I don't like to be called a healer because the
Same.
only one that I have ever healed and am capable of healing is myself.
yeah,
And as I heal myself, I just get to share the things that's like, turning all my pain. I go and heal my pain and I find these things that are going to work for me and resonate for me. And then I just go out and share them because by sharing them, I'm embodying them because I'm like really, everything that I share is something that I'm regularly practicing. I don't just like do it one time and I'm like, oh yeah, like, this is it. But so what I do for the Women's Circle is I empower people to come and lead them. And so Kaylin was like, oh my God, Amy, I did this ecstatic dance. Like, I want to do it. I'm like, all right, perfect. I got the perfect guinea pigs for you, like all the Women's Circle. And that's what's so great about the Women's Circle, too, is that nobody ever knows what they're going to do.
They were so mad at me, though. They were so mad at you when you were like, Kaylin is here to do an ecstatic dance.
But everybody
Everyone's
loved
like,
it.
No. I know. But I just remember at the beginning, everyone was like, it was like shocking.
Mhm.
But that's like a lot of
Nobody
people I
wanted to
think
dance
don't
sober.
come to experience it because they are like living in fear of like the unknown. They don't know what it's going to entail. They don't know if they can like how they're going to feel when they get there, or like are they going to be able to dance in front
Sober.
of other people sober. So it like holds them back from like having like a real experience of healing your body and like having that energy like moved and to just like be in that space.
And a lot of people, it's just fear and insecurities and comparison and judgment. Oh, she dances better than me, or I've never, like my body can't move that way, or my body doesn't look the way the other person's look. And like,
Yeah.
none of that exists in ecstatic dance.
No. And I just want to like share I think it's so beautiful and I've gotten so much from it. And like, it literally healed me through my grief, like through my trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It has healed me over and over and over again. And I like want to share that. And that's why I do this. Like, I want to share what is possible through movement and through music. And that's it's like as simple as that.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, like, I'm doing it for me. Like,
Yeah.
I've shown up to like my dances and there's been like one other person there
Mm-hmm.
and I still dance. I turn the music on and I dance. It was like one time it was just like me and Lauren. I was like, let's go. And she had had like a plant medicine journey like the night before. And then she's like, I'm
great.
kind of tired. I'm just going to like maybe lay down. She danced the whole time. She was like there. And I love her so much. And I do it for me. And I like just want to share it for other people to experience like the healing in that space. But you're also like connecting, like you're making a human connection at the same time, like being in a space. When somebody holds that, like what's it called, a sacred space. It's a sacred
It
space.
is.
You create a safe container
Mm-hmm.
for people to take off their masks,
Mm.
take them off, and to be witness to other people and their
Mhm.
pain and their beauty and their love that they have and their trauma. Like that's where like the healing happens. So even just like sitting, like sitting in that space.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you could be a fly on the wall last night,
Oh my God.
imagine. Imagine. And there's no like cameras. So in ecstatic dance, there's no videos. Like I don't have any marketing because it's like one of the guidelines is there's no phones, no cameras, because you need to have a safe space. We create that safe space so you can have a safe container to not feel like the world's watching you. You're going to up on the internet tomorrow,
Right.
with how you moved or
Right.
anything like that. So not many places like that.
No. And I think before we talk about last night, so 2 years ago, your sister.
Oh, so 3 years ago.
Yeah, there's Kaylin's story is a very
If I wouldn't be able to like sit here, I was like, we have an hour and a half. I think my last podcast with you was like 2 hours. So
I know, but
I was
I
like,
do
well,
wanna.
I'm trying not to like just go through the whole thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like so around this time of year, you can imagine October 13th, I got sober. October 19th, Jesse died. And then 2 weeks later from now, on November 1st, that's when my daughter died. Almost 3 years ago now. Yeah, 3 years ago.
Because I know it's November 2nd.
Yeah. So like I got through it. Like it was November 1st and I, on the day that like my daughter's death anniversary date, I never know. I never know what these 2 weeks. We were just talking about the in between.
Yeah, the space
Like
between.
that, the space between. Yeah. This like space between and like that's where I'm at right now. Like I don't know what kind of things are going to happen, but this is like my most emotional time of year. And like usually it always ends up like the most beautiful things happen because like I know that like I'm not alone and I know like that I am getting these like signs from like everywhere that like I'm right where I need to be and like it ends up like the ladybugs. Like yesterday I had like sappy sad music on. I was like playing Quinn's like her list or her like playlist.
Mm-hmm.
I was like playing it. I was like in my feels. And I like wanted to be in my feels. When you like
Yeah.
want to cry and you like put sad music on. You like look at yourself in the mirror when you're crying. You're like everybody does it.
Yeah.
But I was like there. And then like I was pulled out of that because like all these ladybugs showed up. So I was like, oh, well, I do want to cry, I think. And then I was like, no. But so I got through those 2 weeks and I'll never forget it. Like it was like November 2nd. I woke up and I was like, yes, finally like through this. And the year before that. So I should say like when we moved off of the island and came back to New Hampshire, my sister and I had a really, really rough relationship like for years. And then she like when I was like sober, she wasn't. And it was really, really hard to have this relationship with her And like I had brought her to the island, and like the things she was like saying out in public,
Mm.
I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is so inappropriate. There are children around. Really hope like I can't have her here again. You know,
Yeah.
I can't. So when we moved back, it was like the week before Thanksgiving, and we like magically got an apartment in 2020. They were like, "Oh, we have waiting list till January." And I was like, "We're moving. Like I don't care where we go. We have to get out of here." Like I had a newborn.
Mm-hmm.
And Ruby was like 3 at the time, and like we just needed to get off, and then got this apartment, and I like unpacked everything and was like 5 days later I'm like, let's have Thanksgiving at my house cuz my brother lives up here, my sister was up here. So we came and like sat down, and like we're having a Thanksgiving dinner, but like I realized like my sister was never like of sound in mind to make an amends to her, or to like tell her where I was wrong in our relationship. And I really just like I always craved that relationship, like having
Mm.
seen like sisterhood from other people. And I'm just like I always wanted that, and I just like we were just like so not that.
Mm.
I was like, I always like tell him like, thank God she beat my ass my whole life, because like I needed it.
Yeah.
Like I'm so resilient as like, my kids fight now. I'm like, fight.
Figure it out.
It'll help you later. Like I hope you don't need it, but like I obviously needed it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful for that. But at that moment I was just like, had this idea, and then I was like, even if she is fucked up right now, because I could never tell. I didn't like know. I wasn't around anybody that
Right.
was high for years,
And it's like hard to see. It's hard to see in the people that
especially
you
like
love.
meth or what it is. Like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what kind of drugs, what they look like. I had no idea. So we were at Thanksgiving, and I took her in my bedroom, and I was like, I just really needed to share something with you. Like, and I got to like make this amends to her and like really apologize and say like where I went wrong, and got to tell her like how I had made it right without her even knowing,
Mm.
because like I had this um my sister was always bigger than I was, and like the only thing that hurt her was when I called her fat,
Mm.
like my whole life. And I know that she like held on to that, and there was things that like she still held on to that like had happened that stuck with her. And um like I got to like share that like when Kiara was young, and even my kids now, like they're not allowed to say the F word, and that's the fat word. Like do not describe people's bodies like that. And that was like my way of like seeing my sister hurt and hurting her in that way.
Mm.
No, she got me. She got me
Yeah, of
good.
course.
She like called me a slut, whatever.
Yeah. But that's what amends about. It's not about, it's about, making it right for the other person.
Yeah.
Like that's their responsibility if they want to make it right, right? It's not like you don't need that.
So she cried. We both cried together, and I was like, I'm so sorry, but I want to have this relationship with you. And that's like a week later, she shows up at my house, and she wants to get sober. And she hadn't brushed her hair in a year. She smelled every time she came in my house. She like smelled like cigarettes or like something. Just I was like giving her a change of clothes. I was like, can you just put this
Yeah.
before you hold my baby? Like put a sweatshirt on. I like But this one day she was like detoxing, and she like really wanted help, and I was like making phone calls and like trying to get her in somewhere. But I just remember like my kids not ever being around addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So this was like their first experience of like, and they know, like Auntie Quinny, they know like how she died and everything. I'm very honest,
Yeah.
and I had to be. And I remember like drawing a tub for her and like brushing her hair out for like an hour and a half.
Ugh.
And it was like matted, and I was like, here's like a fresh toothpaste, toothbrush, like just want to make sure like you're okay. And just like having her cry and like shake in my tub, and like having my kids right there. Like when I'm saying I'm like leaning over the tub, like I have like, little baby Cam and Ruby like right there, just like experiencing all of this. And I was like, this is like, this is our
life.
truth.
This is
This
life.
is our truth. Like I have never not,
Mhm.
So we ended up getting her a scholarship, and she like went to rehab.
She ended up at my studio, remember?
Yeah.
Because she was at Blueprint, and Blueprint came to my studio for meditation.
Yeah. And then she used to go to your booty class all the
yeah,
time.
she started coming to the studio after that.
Yeah. So yeah, she like went on this journey, and I like had hope. And then like I saw her one day and like lost that hope. But she lied to me. She's like, I've been 6 months sober, you know? I was like, oh gosh, I've been there. Like I've been there. But then something clicked inside of me. Was like the one thing that I wanted when I was like at my worst was for somebody just to love me. Just to be there and like not be like, I know you're high.
Right.
I know you're lying to me. And like, I just want to be. Like, just let me be. So like I decided at that moment, it was like, I'm never going to bring up or ask her if she's high or anything or question it. I'm just going to like have this relationship with her that I can have. Like, that's nothing but like love and listen to her and just like be this person, because no matter what we do, none of it, I can't get her sober.
No?
I can't get anybody sober.
Mm-mm.
And no matter what, like I truly believe like when you're ready, you're ready. No matter what. No ounce of you pushing anybody or telling them, giving them ultimatums, any amount of pain that they like hit, it has to be them that decides, you know, and a lot of us don't make it.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't make it till that decision. And it's really hard to accept that. But I always even say like, love the addict, but hate the addiction. It's like my favorite line.
It's the thing of that it's you. Like it's the moment in your life when you finally realize that like the want to get sober is more than the want to get high.
Yeah.
And the want to embrace life rather than escape it.
Yeah.
Right? Even though I'm not a sober person anymore, like I do not consider myself a sober person. I'm not in recovery. Like I do not like assign to any of those beliefs like at all. Like nothing that I do in my life is to escape it. Ever. I do not want to escape my life. My life is wildly fucking beautiful. Even in the most painful moments.
Yep.
Like, because I have really fucked up shit that actually doesn't make sense going on in my life right now. And even in those moments, there's not a time in my life where I'm like, oh, I really think that a drink's going to fix this. I'm going to go have a glass of wine. Because, like, no, I embrace the fucking suck and I keep it moving. So that way I can still continue to make magic. Because if I'm trying to escape this reality, I can't make magic.
Yeah.
I can't witness the magic that this world has to offer. And there, last night, is so much magic.
Yeah.
We get to witness it.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. There's magic everywhere. We're all magic.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And everybody's forgot that there's magic.
That might have to be like part of my title of my book.
Yeah. It's the synchronicities and like when you open yourself up to that, like what you get to see and how the universe is communicating with you and the people they plop in your life.
Oh my gosh,
and
back to Quinn. Let's get back to Quinn. I know we can go forever.
This is the worst. We're the worst. Keep us in line.
So Quinn ended up getting a scholarship and she went to rehab, and then she was like, you know, definitely messed up. I made the mistake of like bringing her to a playground one time. Like I'm just like, it's like, okay, we're not doing this again. It's like, she like definitely was not appropriate for a playground. But, yeah, she would like show up at my house, and like, we actually had this relationship for like the last year. We had, cause it was like November.
Mm-hmm.
So, like around Thanksgiving when I like really apologized to her and like made a choice to like just accept her. And then like I remember her coming by. She used to come by all the time, and you know, those little lies would creep in, and I knew the truth, and I was like, I'm not gonna like call her out on her lies either. Like that's what you have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Like herself. Like I've been there. Like I remember lying to everybody, and like I've had to face those too. Like someday your time will come, you know. Sometimes like the burdens are so heavy though, like it's harder to like want to face those burdens. But there's like not a person, you know, there's not a person that hasn't gone through something that you've gone through that hasn't gone through it.
Right. The feelings are the same.
Yeah.
Every human being has the same
Yeah.
feelings.
But it's
just
that
a
like
different.
wallowing. It's like the need to, I think, just like stay in that victimhood of, you know, my life is the worst. Like that is like so.
Well, she had a lot of survivor's guilt.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And survivor's guilt's hard. I mean, like, I get survivor's guilt. Like, the amount of people that I run into, or like parents that lost their kids, and like, here I am, like, no reason, right? Right? Like,
Yeah.
we should be fucking dead.
I should be dead.
I should be
like,
dead.
yeah, absolutely.
Like, I experience survivor's guilt sometimes because I was reckless with my life.
Yeah.
Reckless.
Yeah. Just crazy.
That's crazy.
So
November 2nd.
after my daughter's death anniversary, I like woke up and was like, oh, thank goodness. Can breathe. Like it's for some reason I'm like, I just can breathe because it's like a rough couple weeks, you know? It's like this.
Well, the body
weird
keeps
space.
the body keeps the score. So that was such a traumatic situation. I think people like don't even realize sometimes if you're like going through something and you can't figure out why because there's nothing else happening, you should go back and look at that time of the year through different years to see like what happened during that time, because the body remembers that time. So it's not just your emotional body, and in the remembrance of what you're going through, like the loss of your daughter and the ex, like your body remembers because it was so traumatic that that's like also activating in the memories that the body remembers. So it's like not only are you not only are you mentally remembering the loss and experiencing the loss, but your body remembers how traumatic that was.
Oh yeah.
So it makes makes sense.
Absolutely. So yeah, I just like woke up and finally was like, I can breathe. It's over. You know, see you next year.
Yeah.
Always. And I like went outside. We were like in the apartment on the third floor, and I like went out with Dan to like go walk the dog. The kids were already playing outside, and it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm like, I smell a dead body. Dan's like, what? I was like, have you ever smelled a dead body? He's like, I don't know. It's like, no, you would know if you smelled a dead body, you know? It's like, smelled some dead bodies in my life. And it went away. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, very weird. And then, like, later on that night, like, I'm like, literally, like, nursing my baby, putting them to sleep. And I get the phone call at, like, 6:45. And my dad's like, Quinn's gone. I was like, what do you mean Quinn's gone? You know, like, what do you mean? Like, and he had told me, like, she overdosed and died. And, like, they were in Mexico. So it's like, how am I going to do this? You know, they were in Mexico for the next 2 weeks. So I had to, like, go show up at the morgue or, like, at the funeral home, do that, sign her crematory, make her obituary, get the whole celebration of life together, like, 2 little kids. It was just, like, I think I lost, like, 30 pounds in a week. So I was like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
So, but I remember, like, they were like, you know, she had passed for a long time before anyone made a phone call to, like, and it was like, you know, so she pretty much had passed like the same time that I had like smelt
the dead body.
And I like knew, I was like, she's my sister, she's my blood. Like, there's obviously, like, I knew. I don't really like talk about Quinn like this in this aspect. Because we all had like so much hope for her. We held on to that hope. But at the same time, I knew that she was at peace finally because of like how hard her struggle was here.
Yeah.
She had such a hard struggle. Like, she fought so hard, like, up until the end. Like, she was at a meeting like the day before or the day of. She like painted this beautiful mural where the meeting is. Like I still haven't gone to see it. I probably should go do that.
Yeah.
But it was like Bill. Like
Yeah.
when they're like Bill Mom, you know.
Yeah, and sometimes too, it's like with people that just like fight so hard, and you see them and they want it and they just like can't figure it out. You're almost like they're just that. Like they're finally. I've witnessed so many people over these past 12, 13 years that I've just been like, oh, they're at peace now.
Yeah.
Like they're at peace.
That's like
now.
how I think that's how like my whole, because in the beginning I was like, how is everybody like not losing their mind? But I was like, they probably accepted like this was the outcome.
Mm.
You know, you get to a point where you're just like, that's like I didn't even know I got to that point until like I was like, I'm just gonna love her because I don't think I have much time left with her.
Yeah.
Like how sad that like, you know. So I always say like to people, I'm like, if you have somebody struggling in your life, like just love them because you really don't know. You really don't know how much time you do have with them. And like, you don't want to have any regrets.
Right.
Like, I'm so grateful that my sister and I like turned things around that last year.
Yeah. And love doesn't mean like money. Oh, you know what I mean? Like that's not like, I feel like people think that's the only way to like love an addict is to like support them financially.
Oh gosh,
It's like,
no.
no, it's love. Hey, let me take you out to dinner.
Yeah,
like
show
let
up.
me, I'll go and get you a new sweatshirt. You know what I mean? Or like if
Yeah.
that's the way you feel like it's funny, but like it's quality time and not judging. Like how
Yes.
are you? Like how are you, and actually listen to how they are.
Yeah,
And
not
don't
give
judge
advice
them
or try to tell them like how
to get sober,
get sober,
like
you know, that you should be doing this, you should be doing that. It's like, no.
at Revive, we have our greatest, like one of the greatest success rate with the Clean Needle Exchange program. So we go to the
It's
same
such a
spot.
controversial thing too.
Oh, good.
I love that.
I love, me.
I
I fucking
know.
love all the controversial shit. Give it to me all. But we go to the same places, and the staff at
I
Revive,
wish that was available when I was using.
and they go, our incredible staff, they go and they have their car full of like all these things, and they give them snacks, and the people have to bring the dirty needles back, and it's an exchange. So they're taking them off the street
They're
because it's
exposed
happening.
to, yeah.
And they're exposed to for the
people that
first
have
time
been.
in their life, people that gonna show up for them consistently. We're there at the same time all the time, and they're like, oh my God, these people might actually care.
Yeah.
And then they come to the center, and then they get better, because then they actually have somebody for the first time in their life, like you did with your sister. Even though it didn't end up the great way, like at least she had that experience.
Yeah.
And at least you got to have that experience. And, there's a lot of parents that I know like have all this guilt, and, they could have done this better and they could have done that better. And then you have to live with like that for the rest of your life, or how you didn't like show up. So, if there's one thing that, with this we can say is, if that's the position that you're in right now, do your best to just love without judgment and shame. Stop shaming them.
Yeah.
They're in survival mode. They're not doing it to hurt you, right? And then everybody feels like a victim, like you're using because you don't care about me, and like you like.
Or
No,
they
they're
hold
not.
on to like something that they have done.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're like, like I experience it too. Like, like my parents did the best that they could.
Everybody's doing
So,
the
like,
best that they can.
Yeah. So am I. Like,
Yeah.
I might be fucking my kids up right now,
We
Excuse
never
my language
know.
if you guys are like Sunday morning
No.
with kids
It's fine.
listening. My kids might be listening to right now. My throat hurts so bad from last night.
I'm screaming. I was screaming like a wild animal.
Oh.
Okay, so and that's too, like, I also want to honor, it was right around Quinn's 1 year anniversary when we reconnected, because Kaylin and I were really close in the beginning of our recovery, and then we kind of did life's parallel, like a lot of the
Yeah.
things, and we had situations where like we weren't really friends, and we let like other people get in between that, people 12-step communities can be really like sick and toxic, and we were
There's
able
like eras too that people go through.
Yeah,
They're
like
I
ebbs and flows
like,
of-
I just need to put this relationship down, and like maybe if we pick it back up later. Like I'm going through it right now. Like
yeah.
there's like so many where I'm just like right now I don't think that like we're in our era right now. Our
Yeah.
friendship like
Same. But I'm also a Taurus, so like if people like do that, it's not likely that I'll come back, but we can give it a try.
You came back.
I did. I had just filed for divorce,
Oh my gosh, you were,
and I
yeah,
was very raw.
raw.
And you like really held me during that time. I'll never forget. I was like so suicidal, like February, like fighting everything that I was fighting and doing everything that I was doing, that I really felt like impossible to be able to survive what I was going through. And I remember just like laying in my bed and you just coming and like laying with me. And like that's what like true friendship, and like you didn't like try to say anything or do anything. It was just like space. Like
I laid on top of you.
you might have.
Yeah, I did. I was just like, I'm gonna lay here forever.
And we were both going through it. Like you were, mourning your sister and just, everything. Um and I'm just super, super grateful for that.
But that's what women are supposed to do for each other. Like hold that space and
Yeah.
like be there for women when they are in, like, it's such an important piece that women are lacking,
Mm.
is like just holding space
Yeah.
or just like being there and
Mhm.
not having to have answers or give advice or have to fix it.
Yeah.
We're all fixers. Like we're all like want to fix. Like you don't have to fix anything. Like you just have to show up.
Right.
And but like finding those women that like you can trust to like share those moments with and be in those moments.
Yeah.
It's magic. Like that's where like a lot of the healing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like I woke up a new person today.
Same.
A new person. It was like just the magic that happened.
So
What time is it?
we're good.
Okay.
We got a half an hour. So we've got time. So last night, well, there's this incredible place. I'm gonna shout it out, and you can shout it out too, because I got there and I was like planning my wedding there, and I like walked in.
You walked
and I
out
was
and you were like, "Can I get married here?" It's Rooted Free Farm. She's such a beautiful soul, Lauren.
In Henniker. It was so beautiful. So Kaylin invited me. So she did her first ecstatic dance. So Kaylin's been for this past year. She's been doing them every third Saturday of the month. She's been like doing them.
In the winter, I go. So April to October is at Rooted Free Farm, and then I go to Amy's studio for the colder months because it is cold in that barn.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a little chilly last night.
Yeah.
It was good when we were dancing, but
We were all like in tank tops, like we were fine. But
yeah.
at the end, it was like, okay,
Yeah.
we're not moving anymore.
Gotta put the sweatshirt back on. So she and it's funny because it's just always the third Saturday of the month. That's when it is, and it just this third Saturday of the month just happened to fall on
The date.
your daughter's
Well, the accident date.
the accident date.
Yeah, Jesse's death anniversary date.
Yeah,
The kickstart of the
of the in between.
The in between. Thank you, Lauren, for that last night.
Yeah, so we went to a kava
Yeah, we went to
ceremony.
a kava ceremony, and it was like a very beautiful, like
Sharing circle.
very.
She's so sweet. Was like an ex-school teacher, and she had all these little leaves cut out. She had all these little leaves, and we wrote on a pen and stuck these leaves of all the things that we wanted to let go. I had like shame and unworthiness, and what was the other one? Like I just had like all these leaves like stuck to me with like all these things that we wanted to let go of, because it's like we get so caught up in like what healing's supposed to look like, right? And like we can make it these like fun little like ceremonies, and every time anybody shared anything that they were letting go of, everybody was like, oh my god, me too. Like get rid of it.
Yes.
Like me too. Like I have that one.
Throw it in
and
the fire. Let's
throw it
go.
in the fire. Like get rid of it. Like it doesn't belong here anymore. And
Well, more people are gathering.
yes.
That's the beauty of what's happening right now. It's like
Mhm.
last night, like I could have gone to 3 different things. There was like, now we have to choose
Yeah.
like what kind of like moon circle or healing thing we want to do. Like you just have to step out of your house and
Yeah.
you're in these gatherings. You are in it to experience the magic of like what happens in spaces like this. Like it's like sacred spaces.
Yeah.
These ceremonial, which is like ceremony, like not a lot of people talk about ceremony, how important like ceremony is, how it's been a part of our lives
And it's been lost.
that has been lost. You know,
Mhm.
you can literally have a ceremony for anything, and it's like it's special to
It's
hold
about
that
intention.
space. It is about intention, and it's about closure and whatever it celebration. There's so many different things that it could be. It's like a ritual. You know, ritual is not like it's not in ceremonies, they're not like anti-Christian or
No.
anti-God or any of these like I think it's like hard because there's I mean, even I am, you know, I have accepted Jesus as, you know, in my life. Like that is 100% thousand thing that I've done.
Yeah.
But there's like, you know, there's spaces that people hold and there's like things that you do that aren't like going against any kind of like thing that you know I feel like a lot of like Christians hold back from attending different things like that or holding ceremonies because it's like
Pagan.
not yeah because it possibly could
Witchcraft.
be you
Don't want to
know
get burned at the stake.
bringing demons in or anything like that. But
No, it's
I
the
just like
complete
saying that because
opposite.
like it's such like a it's like you're holding yourself back. Those are
Mhm.
like limiting you. Like all these things and these ideas. It's like if your heart is in it and this is what you want to experience it and you're um you know, you can feel it like if it's right for you or not.
Well, I love church. Like I love going to the church. It was MCC before, and like I got baptized there because like think about that's a ceremony. Everyone's in there and they're raising their hands and they're singing and they're praising and they're connecting with the music and the people and everyone's got this good intentions and it makes you feel good. Like that's what ceremony
Community.
is. It's
Yeah,
community and
it's
ceremony.
ceremony.
Like I hate to break it to you, but that's just
Exactly.
like a big ceremony that you're
Yeah.
doing
Yeah, exactly.
when you go to church.
yeah.
That's a church's ceremony.
Yeah.
Like you just everybody just wants to judge everybody. Like that. Like, whoa, that's weird. Like you're weird, witchy. Like, what are you doing?
my pastor wears like Air Forces.
Yeah,
I'm like, yes.
because it
this is
doesn't matter.
amazing.
Because everybody just the problem with it's just this more piece of like separation and
Yeah.
like you
Like
know
the divide.
the divide of it all.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just like I wanted to put that in there just because like these experiences that you could be having, they're like they're not going to go against anything that, you know, other than your heart being in it is going to allow you to. So,
So break down the dance last night. So we go to the barn. We have the kava ceremony. We have this beautiful letting go ceremony, and then the barn space is just incredible.
yep. So, and what you didn't know is it is a house, it's a house to bats. So there's bat medicine there, and we have to like tell
Oh, you didn't
everybody
tell me that
during-
on purpose?
Well, they're not there right now. They go to like a cave in Vermont. Like all the bats go to a cave in Vermont. But so the mothers and their babies, the mothers go there to have their babies. And I'm talking like thousands of bats. So if you had like looked up, you would have saw this like plastic on. Like you can look up in the summer. Like we can't turn the lights all the way down in the summer because they start coming out. And it kind of like some people get a little freaked out by
Girl, I would not be able to do that.
it. It's incredible. Like we've sat in circle and they've been like right here, just flying by. They don't have eyes. They literally are just energy. They feel.
We're gonna
You're
backtrack
totally
because we
going
got like
to that barn and you're gonna experience the bats.
okay. We're gonna backtrack. We got 20 minutes, and we have two things that we're gonna talk about the dance, and I really want to talk about the breathwork situation
Oh,
that you had.
yes.
So
Okay.
we're gonna talk about the dance.
So the dance. So I created the playlist. I mean, sometimes like playlist takes me like 20 hours to create. Like it's not like when you think about like having to be intentional with the music and have like a flow that goes. I do this thing called 5 rhythms, so it's like a flow into a build up to like chaos and like sometimes it's like EDM, like bass, and then there's a calm down, and then there's stillness. So at the end, everybody's like still. And I knew Mia was going to be there. She's like my bestie. She just moved up from Florida again. So
I know. All I could think about was us getting her ready for prom.
Oh, I know. I was thinking about that too. I was like, us three, like all three
When we
of
were
us
all
there.
hugging, and I was like, oh my God, this just reminds me of when, when she was just so little in high school and prom, but we won't get sidetracked with that.
So, yeah. So like I knew that there were like songs that I wanted to play, and usually I just like, I go through my list, I press play if I hear a song that like really, really like, and then I have to like rearrange it in the right order after. And there's a song like Diamonds that is my daughter's song. Like it came out, it was actually Jesse's sister, Becca, who sent me that song right after it came out, after Kiara had passed. And she's like, I think this is your song. And I was like, it so is. Like,
And it like comes on when I come over your house, like on the radio, and
Yeah.
it's like a song from like 2012. So
yeah, it's like
doesn't make sense, but okay.
my daughter loves that song too now. She like
Yeah.
sings like the little kid version that they have. She's like, Mom, it's Sissy's song. But so like the playlist was incredible.
It was so good.
It was so good. It like brought you like at one point there's like Viking music, that like you can like like that fierce. We're screaming, we're like grunting, we're like slapping our chests and like getting that energy out. And then like the next minute we're like twirling and like frolicking around, and we're on like tippy toes, and then like we're twerking, we're shaking our ass, we're getting on the floor, like we're grinding up on each other. Then like one point I was like this guy was like holding me, and he like swung me back and did like the whole like dip swirl, and I was like, oh, I feel so amazing. And then we like got to like the songs that I knew that I needed that, and I wanted that like space to like just to cry, and like that was my intentions, was like I just want to like have this, there was this one song called Remember Me, and then the Diamond song. So I started getting ready for Stillness, and I was like, just standing there, and all of a sudden like it hit me, and I like started crying, and like I just was like standing there crying, and I like felt somebody come over, and I know it was Lauren, because she's like, just her whole essence is soft and sweet. So I like could feel her like softness. And I was like, okay, I'm safe. And then I like felt your hand, like, like I'm crying. Like I'm at this point now, like I'm starting to fully grieve because I felt held in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm starting to enter, like to feel so vulnerable and feel safe to like really let that go, and then I just like, I felt held everywhere. Like there was like people holding my legs, like people had like their hands on my foot, and then like everyone started singing,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like the song, and like I don't even know how to describe it, but like it was this feeling of being held like I had never been held before. Like nobody's like embodied me into this safe space and like created this circle around me for me to like just feel held.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's magic. Like I just want to hold those circles. Like I just want to hold women, and I want to hold men, and I want to hold everybody to like.
It was so
allow
funny
them.
that happened. Like everybody was just like holding and supporting you and singing you this song. I ran a women's circle, a cacao ceremony that morning, and it was a ceremony that I had done at the fire walk where like the women shared like what their struggle was, and then we made affirmations, and then each woman stood, and all the women like put their hands on them and like said the affirmations to them for 3 minutes, just over and over, while they were like touching and holding and like receiving, because as women we don't know how to receive, and we often don't receive because we're giving to our partners, we're giving to our careers, we're giving to our children, we're always giving. And when we receive like that, we're like
Oh yeah.
So it was like I did that in the morning for there was like 7 women, and then it was like just like this shift to be able to do that for you, and I just like held your back, and like we all sang the song to you, and like it was like you were crying, but it was like the energy you were releasing
Mm.
was like
I
it
remember
was
like I was like,
so
and
powerful.
I was like sitting there, and I honestly like in the beginning of it, I was like I was pretending that I was holding Kiara.
Mm,
Like just holding her, because like that's one thing that like I yearn for. Like
mm,
that's the only thing, like if I could just hold her one more time, like, that would just be like, you know, my daughter's 7 now. That's how old Kiara was when she passed. So
mhm.
like last night when I got home and I like crawled into bed, she was in my bed, and like I just held her. You know, it was like I'm just gonna hold her, and I like held her and
You
was
had that experience in breathwork. You were
yes.
able
So
to
that's
hold her.
why, yeah. So what time is it? Oh yeah. So um my experience at breathwork, I was scared. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, it is. It's like scary to like, what's breath gonna do to me?
Mhm.
You know, like there's no way. And I remember I brought Michelle
Mhm.
and who was with me? Rihanna was with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rihanna and Michelle. And I remember like laying there, and you're like, we have the rocks in our hands, and like you even say like it's different because like people that have done breath work before, like you
Mhm.
can get into it quicker. So like I was like first time, all of a sudden my friends next to me, they started crying, and they're crying next to me. I'm hearing like there's both men and women, and like men grieve in a different way. Like
Mm.
their grief sounds like so different, which like I love, and I was just like in it. And you're like telling me to like breathe deeper, and I was like, there's no way I'm getting in this. Like I was like, how am I gonna like, you know, my mind is playing tricks with me at that
Mhm.
point where it's like, you know, you're not in it. You're not gonna get there. You're not gonna
Mhm.
get there. And I just remember like you like how you do it, because I've done breath work with like multiple people, and like I've been pulled out of my emotions. I've been,
Mm.
which was like I was like not, and then it wasn't like I wasn't pushed deep enough sometimes. So like your breath work's different. You're like making sure that every single person in that room is like gonna get what they came for.
Mhm.
So I'm like listening to you, and I'm like, nah, it's just not gonna happen for me. And then like I'm sitting there like my like thing. All of a sudden, you're like, breathe deeper. The deeper you go, the deeper you're going to heal. And then you're like, you are not what happened to you. And all of a sudden, like I heard your voice, and like I was in it. I
Mm.
was in it. I was like, but I was on the outside. So like I had a visual, and it was me sitting in the back seat. So I was like looking in on the car when we um turned around to pray.
Mm.
So I was like looking down, and I was watching us like pray and hug, and like from a bird's eye view. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, that's us. And I was like, I think it's because your voice, you know, like your voice
Mm.
brought me back to that moment. Was like, okay. So um um then I remember where we were in the hospital, because like all I could see was like I'm sitting there, and I'm like, there's these bright lights, and I'm starting to look for her now. You know,
Mm.
I'm like, where's Kiara? I was like, I know she's here. Where is she? Like she has to be here. We're at the hospital. Like we have to be here. And then all of a sudden I'm pulled away, and I'm at her celebration of life. And like we had her celebration of life at like Pat's Peak. There was like,
It was so beautiful.
yeah, it was like everybody wore pink. So I'm like seeing all the pink and the balloons and like the pink angel heart wings that were like made. I'm like, oh my God, I missed my opportunity. Like I'm not gonna see her now. You know, like I'm not gonna see her. And then all of a sudden, like you were like, hold your breath.
Mm.
And I just remember like you counting to 3, being like, all right, in 3 seconds you're gonna hold your breath. And I was like, is you like 1, 2, 3, and I like held my breath. And then all of a sudden she's right here. Like I felt her. And like the Lean on Me song came on.
Mm.
And like I'll never forget it. It was like this like deep Lean on Me song, and like my hands are tingling because breath work, like you're like I was like tingling, and it's like kind of hard to like move your arms, but I remember like moving my arms up just so that I could hold her and like be in this space with her. And my friend had told me like she's like, I'm pretty sure you held your breath for like 3 minutes straight.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember like you saying release and her just like going away and me just like yelling, no, like it was like it. I was like, oh, like there it is. There's like this little sliver of, but I got that sliver. It was like just everything that I ever wanted. It was just like so magical in that moment. So yeah, that was so good. And then I was like, that next time I was like, I'm bringing Dan.
And then you had an experience with Dan.
I did have an experience with Dan. Like, I was like, I should have just moved over because I wanted to be with him. I just wanted to be next to him and like touching his body because like it was literally like I felt like my heart was like right here and I wanted to be connected to his heart. Sorry.
And it's like and this is why I started this podcast. Is because there's so many people out there with loss and grief and sadness, and we don't live there. Like we do, we live there, but like we live there in a place of magic. We live there in a place of having these experiences and being held. There are humans out there. There's places like the studio. There's practices like breath work. And if it's scary to go to a place, I am starting an online breathwork community. It's actually going to start next Monday night at 7. It'll be every night at 7, and it's going to be 9D breathwork. So it's binaural beats in the coaching. And so you just sit in at your home, put your headphones on. You can do it with your husband. You can just be in the comfort of your own home. So you can still have these practices. So keep an eye out for that. But there's places like the studio or places like this farm, like holding these, and there's so many other magical places around. Like it's not just ours. Like I'm not doing this just to get the word out for mine. Like I'm doing this for every human that is turning their pain into purpose because there's so many of us.
And we're passionate about it because like something that we have gone through and it has worked for us, and we are trying to share that with you because we want to have other people be able to experience that kind of magic.
Yeah. Like and experience life again.
And like enjoy life.
Exactly. Because I lived so miserable, stuck in my pain and in my trauma. I was always a victim. I was always a victim of circumstances and poor me and why did this happen to me? And I'm never going to be able to.
The lack of accountability. Like I was like,
I'm never going to be able to get out of this. I'm always going to feel less than. I'm always going to feel not good enough. I'm always going to,
it's everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
Not mine. Yeah.
And like when you switch it and you say, okay, like why am I choosing to look at myself like this? Why am I not choosing to see myself as fucking resilient and courageous and not still out shooting dope and running to the bar every fucking time that, I feel a little sad or had a hard day at work that you're sitting at the bar. It's like, sometimes I do still go to bars, and I've lived in Manchester my whole life. And like, you're still seeing the same fucking people. Like, bro, you're 40 now. Like, what are you still doing? Like at the bar every Friday and Saturday night, like there's other things out there. Like, and I mean, cool. I'm not judging anybody. Like if that's what people like want to do. Right. But like, are you really happy? Like, are you actually happy doing that is the question that you've got to ask yourself. Like, are you internally happy? Like I am internally like happy. I still make mistakes. I'm still a human being, all of those things, but like, I'm not living in it. I'm not shaming myself. I'm seeing myself as a human. I'm seeing myself as somebody that's constantly trying to be better, do better, and to help others.
I mean, I'm just trying to live a nice, quiet, slow life.
I do not live a slow, quiet life at all. I'm about to go. I've the podcast had to be at 8 a.m. this morning because I got to run out this door to run to the studio because we're having a combo ceremony. There's 7 people doing combo at the studio this morning with Megan.
Amazing.
I cannot wait to have Megan on the podcast. I said last podcast that I was going to have Justin on today, Justin Etling. He has a new place in Capitol, but his daughter won a volleyball competition. So, kids come first, always, right?
Always.
Like, he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, yeah, no, it's totally fine. Like, I have a ton of people. I was like, Kaylin, it's a perfect time. We're going to
I know. It
witness.
just worked out.
It was
You didn't even
perfect.
know. I don't even think you knew. You were just like, you want to come on?
Yeah. I needed last night. I needed everything that I needed, my own experience. I was crying, grunting. I was primally crawling on the ground. Carly, who came with us, needed that experience. The message I got from her this morning. It's magic. There's so much magic out there if you just are willing to get out of the box. That's what it is. Get out of society's idea of what healing is supposed to look like.
Yeah, when you're not told to as a child, you're told sit down, stop moving, stop shaking, stop making noise, stop being weird. We should have never. I want my kids to forever
Be
stay
weird.
weird. Please stay weird, because at some point I was shamed for my weird, and I wish I had it to regulate myself. My
Yeah.
kids start making noises because they're regulating themselves.
Soothing.
They have natural ways.
Self-soothing.
Exactly.
Adults don't know how to self-soothe.
Yeah.
That's why they use a substance. That's why they use TV. That's why they we don't know. And I say it all the time because I do a lot of work in treatment. People that shake their leg,
Oh yeah, I used to do that all the time.
that's your body saying move. That's your
Yep.
body trying to self-soothe you.
And I remember
a leg
growing up, my
shaker,
whole life they were like, stop moving,
stop shaking your leg.
shaking, stop shaking your leg.
you're like,
My mom's probably listening to this too. She's probably like, oh my
stand
gosh, I remember.
up. If your body's doing that, if you're
Yeah, but you
leg
can't.
shaking.
In a school system, you can't stand up and move.
Well, I'm saying in your adult life because the
Yeah.
kids aren't listening to this. It's mostly adults. So if
Yeah.
you're a leg shaker, that's your body screaming at you to move,
Yep.
to shake. Stand up and try to do it more, really shake all that stuck energy that's out of you and watch how your legs stop shaking.
Put music on and dance.
Yeah.
That's how easy it is. I have to do it all the time. I'm overstimulated constantly with my children. My children are.
The grocery store overstimulates me.
Yeah.
It's too many lights, too many things.
Yeah. So and I do it at home. I have to turn the music up, and I just leave it on. The kids just immediately start dancing. They're in their own little vibe, and it's healing.
So move your body, shake your body. Kaylin's ecstatic dances will be at the studio on the 3rd Saturday of the month throughout the winter. She'll probably remember the sexy dance?
Oh yeah.
Probably do another one.
I have an all women's dance playlist that
Yeah.
needs to happen.
And kids, she might have a kids ecstatic dance. It's really great to a
I am
bonding.
co-facilitating with Lauren at we're doing a women's retreat in May
Okay.
at her.
Well, I'll be posting all the information of everything that Lauren's doing because I'm obsessed now. I'm this is in my new space. I told her, I was I live here now.
She literally was like, welcome home.
She literally just hugged me and she said, welcome home. I was like, okay. I'm crying. It's fine.
Thank you, Amy, for having me on.
Yes.
Yeah, I love you so much.
I
I'm
love
so
you
proud
so
of you.
much. It was a little all over the place, but the message is that there's so many opportunities to turn your pain into purpose instead of living stuck in your pain. Pain is inevitable. Pain is a part of life. Grief is a part of the human experience. Pain is a part of the human experience.
Life is growth, though.
And life is fucking hard for every single human being walking the earth, and stop thinking that you have to do it alone, because you don't have to do it alone. There's beautiful communities. There's beautiful people out sharing their stories in all different modalities. And if you've been doing one thing for years and years and years and years, and you're just feeling so stuck, try something new.
Yep.
Try something new. Super grateful for 603 Live. Makes all my podcasting dreams super easy and amazing. The space is incredible.
really
If
is.
you're looking to start a podcast and want to get your voice out there, the space makes it incredibly convenient. Super grateful. Thanks for listening. see you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.